Shields up, Iron Breakers. Work here coming at you with another gameplay impressions video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Destiny's latest expansion, The Taken King, for the PlayStation 4. This title was sent to me by Ecoplay so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, I've been live streaming quite a bit of Destiny recently over at TGN, me and Globku. I've also been live streaming Destiny over at Globku's channel. And basically we've been kind of trying to get back into Destiny because of the upcoming Taken King, because we got to see it while we were at Gamescom, and it kind of reminded us just how amazing the gameplay mechanics are in Destiny, that they just make you want to keep on playing that game, regardless of whether or not you appreciate the story and all the other stuff that comes with it. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about the release of the original Destiny, how there were a lot of people that didn't actually like Destiny all that much because they were expecting a lot more of a story component to it, and Destiny kind of took more of the MMO approach, and Destiny at the end of the day is kind of a combination of MMO, RPG, FPS. It just kind of gets all of these things mixed in together. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys that are watching this video right now might have watched my playthrough of Destiny, and I can understand that you guys, some of you, if you haven't played the game, you guys might be like, man, that was not your best playthrough. And it wasn't, because at the end of the day, the thing about Destiny is that it's not really made for a single player experience, and that's essentially how I played it in my playthrough. I played it mostly single player, and that does not really show the potential that Destiny has. And also another thing that I've learned having played Destiny and all these live streams and all these recent events over at TGN. I'm gonna try to have links. I know that I've mentioned that I'm putting links in the description. I always forget. I'm gonna really try hard not to forget this time, but I'm gonna try to have links to all those live streams in case you guys want to scrub through those and get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Including even a full playthrough of The Taken King, which I did yesterday. Yesterday from the day that I'm recording this, which I'm not sure is the day that this video is actually going to go live, but regardless, Destiny. So the thing about it is that Destiny is one of those games that it's just made to be played with more people. And the fact that I've been playing it with Globku and even with Danny the Consumer, which in case you guys are not familiar with him, I'm going to try to, again, links in the description, hopefully, if I don't forget. And having played it with them, it made the whole experience so much better than my first time. And I'm not even saying that the first time was bad. It's just not, it wasn't one of those games where you would like go through it and think, oh my god, this game kind of blew my mind, it was amazing. It's like the gameplay mechanics were definitely there. I mean, to me, those are the best shooter mechanics that I have seen pretty much ever, as far as I'm concerned. Particularly when it comes to a shooter that's married with RPG aspects and whatnot, and you have different skills with your characters, and you can still use all the weapons and all this other stuff. And I really like the fact that each weapon feels a little bit different than the other one, and each weapon type feels dramatically different from the other and gives you a very different experience. Like, for instance, having a sniper on your secondary is dramatically different to having a fusion rifle on your secondary. Same thing if you have a rocket launcher on your heavy, as opposed to having a machine gun on your heavy. All that stuff just completely changes. But anyways, I'm just kind of like focusing on Destiny, kind of to give you guys the background of where I'm going to go with this thing that I'm talking about, Taken King. So anyway, after having played through the original Destiny and then going through the Dark Below and the House of Wolves, I have to say Dark Below and House of Wolves felt very underwhelming because the story missions were not that amazing, and there was like, were there any strikes even? There were a couple of strikes, but again, we just kind of went through it all in one big chunk of time, so I didn't really have time to process all the different strikes and whatnot. But it was overall the previous two expansions, I would say that they were not amazing. Something that I would say was amazing and really surprised me was the raids. And I kind of get it now why there is no matchmaking for raids. And I know there's going to be a bunch of players saying, oh, but why can't there be matchmaking for raids and all that? Because I was in that crowd as well. It doesn't make sense, and you have to, you know, actually make an effort to get people to go to raids and whatnot. And let me tell you, we did the raids, and they're pretty challenging. And I can understand why Bungie doesn't want to just have random people grouping together and doing these raids, because there's certain mechanics that you got to do. Like in the Crota raid, you got to have the whole sword thing where you have to use the sword to cross the bridge, and You have to kill the sword guy on the other side and the gatekeeper, and then you go into the actual raid, and on the raid, onto the actual final boss of the raid, and in there you have to like DPS the boss down to get his shields down with rockets and whatnot. But after that, he can only be damaged by the sword, so you have to have really tight coordination. Like, this is like, you know, MMO levels of raiding. Like, this reminded me of my World of Warcraft days, albeit at a much smaller scale, because it's only 6 players. Even though I think we did it with 5. Did we do it with 5? I mean, we did some of the fights with 5. And then there's just specific mechanics in these raids that just demand players to be in constant communication and willing to actually spend quite a few hours discussing strategies and whatnot. And now I can understand the whole thing about the Destiny raids. And the raids were definitely the highlight. Like, if you hadn't done the raids, in terms of PvE content, you were most definitely missing out, and that is something that I'm trying not to let happen in the Taken King. So the raid's coming out on Friday, and I'm trying to be in the front lines there with the rest of the people. So the footage that you guys are watching in the background is probably going to be from a random strike that I'm going to do, just to have some background footage of Destiny. I'm not going to be showing you guys the story of the Taken King or anything like that, but I am going to tell you that in terms of storytelling, the game has been greatly improved. Like, I'm not even kidding. It is so much better. You actually have cinematics in between each of the quests, and these cinematics actually have some humor to them. They're actually, you know, they actually tell a story, as opposed to last time where it was like, go here, you need to do this. I mean, the Destiny 2.0 update fixed a couple of things. Like, it actually gave you context for the stuff you were doing. Like, for instance, one of the very first missions in the original Destiny was like, oh, you need to get your ship. We need to run away, right? Because that was the very start of the game. The ghost resurrects you, and then you all just run out. You go into the ship, and you just run away with the ship, and you go to the tower. After you go to the tower just says, okay, talk to these people, and now go back to orbit. Once you go back to orbit, there's just like missions there, and there's no context why those missions are there. And then you just go to you select the mission. It says, you need a hyperdrive for your ship. Boom, go there. And you're just like, okay, so I just got resurrected. There's no explanation. There's no nothing. And in Destiny 2.0, they kind of fixed a little bit of that, albeit just through dialogues, not really cutscenes. And you actually have a chat with Zavala, who is, it's like, I would never have known that I would be actually saying the names of these characters, because I never really interacted with them that much. And now I know Zavala is the Titan guy. I don't know the name of the Warlock lady, though, because I'm not a Warlock. I'm a Hunter. But Zavala is like the Titan guy. He's like the big leader of the Vanguard and whatnot. I mean, I'm not sure if he's the leader, but he's definitely the one calling all the shots in terms of the Vanguard. Then there's KD6, who is hands down the best NPC in Destiny, who is also the Hunter trainer. And, you know, just as you go through these quests, you actually become familiar with these NPCs. You actually understand what their motivations are, and this was done even in Destiny 2.0, because you start seeing all these dialogues, even though they're not actually voice acted and whatnot. But in the Taken King, most of the stuff is voice acted. There's cutscenes all over the place, and there's just a lot more context to the game, is where I'm getting at. But as I was saying, like, the whole thing about the context of that quest where you have to go and just find a hyperdrive, you actually talk to Zavala, the Titan guy, and he tells you, oh, I'm sorry, I know that you just got resurrected, but we really need you out there fighting, and for that, we need to have your ship in better conditions, and you need to go find yourself a hyperdrive. So there's a context. It's not just a mission there that says, you need to go find a hyperdrive. There's actually a character telling you why you need to find a hyperdrive so that he can send you out on missions, and it makes a whole lot more sense. So, but it's not all roses in terms of the 2.0 update. And I should kind of try to separate things, because there's the 2.0 update, which everybody has received, and then there's the Taken King. These are two different things. 2.0 update is something that just kind of updates the game mechanics, and it also updates a lot of the quests that you do and whatnot. So one thing that I thought was weird with 2.0 is that 2 quests that were vanilla quests, they got moved and became part of like the House of Wolves expansion and the Dark Below expansion. So you kind of need the expansions to do these quests. I'm not 100% sure if that's right, but I know that I didn't get the Sword of Crota quest, that quest where you actually wield the sword, until I installed the Dark Below, which I thought was really weird. But I don't know, there was some weird shenanigans with 2.0. They might still need to put a patch up or something. I don't know. But regardless of that, let's just focus on the Taken King. And I know that we're like 10 minutes in. You guys are like, you've just been talking about Destiny for 10 minutes, haven't even addressed that much of the Taken King. Okay, Taken King, once it starts up, there's actually a proper cinematic indicating what is happening throughout this during this expansion. I'm not going to tell you the exact specifics, but let's just say this first cinematic just completely blew me away because it was something that I would not expect from a game like Destiny. And right after that, there's more cinematics completely setting up the pace and just telling you, okay, you got to go here because this thing is happening. And then there's some actual really good acting from KD6. He kind of becomes one of my favorite characters throughout the Taken King. He's one of the he's one of those guys from the robot race. Are they Exos? I don't know exactly, but I always play human, so whatever. But he's one of the robot guys, and he's just like constantly sending you out on missions without telling anybody because he's just like, yeah, we need to get this done. We're just going to cut through all the red tape, and it's like, no bullshit. Just get in there, kill these people, or do this thing. And it's just very humorous and a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed the story in The Taken King. It's a rather short story if you're just talking about the main story itself. But there's so much more to the game than the story, which is one of those things that I was discussing during these live streams. It's like buying Destiny for the story is the same thing as buying Diablo 3 for the story. You don't really buy a game like Diablo 3 for the story. At least I wouldn't assume so. You buy a game like Diablo 3 because you want to go after that loot and you want to, you want to get loot and you want to make your character more powerful and you want to play different classes and you want to experiment with your build and change things around and whatnot. And that's kind of the same reason why you would want to get Destiny from a PvE standpoint. If you want to do PvP, all you got to do is go out into the Crucible. There's a ton of new maps and whatnot. There's the Rift mode. There's the Clash mode. There's just a ton of stuff to do in terms of PvP. But personally, I don't really appreciate the PvP aspect of it all that much. I'm not that good. I know I'm not that good at PvP. I've never been in any game for that matter, apart from maybe MOBAs and whatnot. I'm kind of decent at MOBAs. I wouldn't even say I'm good, but it's whatever. What I'm trying to say is that in terms of a PvE standpoint, you're not going out and just getting it for the story. You're getting it for the whole thing about getting loot for your character and possibly doing the raids and strikes and all this other stuff. So it's like, in terms of story content, we did it, I would say, in about 5 to 6 hours or something like that. We completed most of the story content, but after that they just give you more missions and they give you different story arcs where you're doing different stuff, which is kind of apart from the main story, but it connects to it. And then there's also the strikes where you actually do, those are kind of like the World of Warcraft instances, and they actually put in some really cool mechanics in the strikes this time. I mean, there's this strike which is an exclusive for the PlayStation 4, and it made me feel really bad because just thinking about the fact that Xbox One users aren't going to get to watch to play that strike until later on or whatever. I don't know exactly when the exclusive content gets released to the Xbox One, but what I'm saying is that it made me feel bad for those guys because that strike was amazing. It was one of the best strikes I've ever done. It's called the Echo Chamber, and it had this mechanic where you're fighting a boss and you're constantly having to have your team provide cover for you. For one of you, and one of you needs to be constantly running these relics around. And as you're running these relics, there's walls. There's this mechanic where there are these force walls that are constantly pushing against you. And you almost get that feeling, they're going to crush me, I'm going to die. And they're pushing enemies against you. And you see the corpses of your enemies being pushed by these walls. It's just amazing. I thought that raid was awesome. So I've been having a really positive experience with The Taken King. Again, I've also been playing with Danny the Consumer, who is like someone who spent a lot of time in Destiny. And pretty much whenever we have a question, because there are some mechanics in Destiny that are still a little bit weird. So every now and then we'd be like, hey, Danny, what do I need to do about this thing? And he'd be like, okay, you got to do this. And that also made the experience a lot more fun. So if you don't have someone who is really into Destiny and knows a whole lot about Destiny, you might have to do a little bit of research onto certain things like, oh, what if I have exotics from year one? How do I update them and whatnot? And it's like, you got to go to this vendor who's hidden on this thing. And it's like, oh, what about my shaders? My shaders are gone. There's this kiosk over here. And the game doesn't really tell you these things. These are things that you will find out in forums and whatnot. And that is a little bit frustrating still, that there are a couple of mechanics that are hidden, which there are solid mechanics and they're working, but it's still one of those things that is not extremely intuitive. Now, beyond the new story and a bunch of new strikes, if I'm not mistaken, Danny said when we were in the live stream that there's 4 completely new strikes. There's going to be a new raid that releases on Friday. And beyond these 4 new strikes, there's also 2 strikes that have been modified to include something new. One of them, I don't want to say one of the new races because it's not really a new race, but let's say a new type of enemy that appears in The Taken King. I'm really trying not to spoil stuff for you because the story I feel was really solid this time around. So there's been 2 strikes that were modified to include that new enemy, so that you can go ahead and interact with them on additional strikes. So grand total, if you add in those 2 strikes, there's like 6 new strikes, plus the raid that's going to be coming down the line, and there's a couple of new heroic quests. We did the heroic daily, and it was insane because it was like the final boss fight of the story. We got that as our heroic daily, and we were just like, damn, this shit is hard. We were dying left and right and just having to res super fast and trying to get back up and shoot the boss, and we're making very little damage. That thing in and of itself almost felt like a raid because, again, they're adding new mechanics, which these mechanics will basically kill you. The enemies are no longer just bullet sponges. They actually have specific mechanics, which if you don't abide by those mechanics in those encounters, you will die. Just like any other MMO, just like in World of Warcraft and stuff like that. You know how you have those certain mechanics that if you don't pay attention, which right now for some reason I can't remember any of them. Let's say the Baron Geddon and the bomb mechanic, where it's like, you're the bomb, you need to run away from your raid. You didn't run away from your raid, everybody fucking dies. Those are the kind of mechanics that you will see in the Taken King, even in the strikes. Not just in the raids, but also in the strikes. Which it's just like one of those things. I felt this was a really solid expansion, and I had a lot of fun. And I'm still playing it, and I'm still going to keep on playing it for quite some time. As a matter of fact, you guys are probably watching me play. I'm a hunter. But as I was saying, beyond all the PvE content, beyond all the PvP content, every class also gets a new subclass. So the class that I'm playing right now is the Hunter, so you're probably watching me play as a Night Stalker. The Night Stalker gets a couple of new abilities. He gets 2 new grenade types and whatnot that you can do. One of them is actually like a firewall type grenade, or should I say void wall, because it's void damage. It also changes like your melee ability to throw another grenade. So essentially as a void walker, you get like 2 grenades instead of 1. This grenade blinds people and poisons them, and you can have all kinds of different modifiers in there. And then your super becomes, your character just pulls out a bow. He takes out this shot which tethers enemies together, and it's really good because it's the best initiator. So if like you're looking to deal heavy damage onto something, you pull out your Night Stalker Hunter, you do a super, and then you combine the supers from the other classes, and it just like it wrecks everything, and almost everybody gets almost to the point where they're filled up for another super because of the ridiculous amount of damage that you dealt, and because of the fact that you're also generating extra orbs of light, and there's just a ton of stuff that you can do with that. So that has been my experience with the Night Stalker. There's other classes. There is the Warlock Storm. Is it Stormcaller? I think it's Stormcaller. And the Stormcaller essentially does a whole Palpatine thing where he just shoots lightning from his hands as his super. It is really awesome, and it does crap tons of damage. And then you have the Titan, which is probably one of my favorite subclasses because he basically pulls out fiery hammers and tosses them against people. And I haven't gotten to do that yet because I'm playing through the game in my Titan with Glavku over on his channel, so I can't level up my Titan to play with the Sunbreaker, which is very disappointing to me, but that class seems like a lot of fun. Also, it seems to be one of the best PvP classes right now because he basically tosses a hammer at you, you're dead. So, yeah, there's the subclasses, all the PvE content, all the PvP content, and so far I have to say everything has been extremely satisfying. Now, does this mean if you didn't enjoy Destiny when it came out that you're going to enjoy the Taken King? I'm not entirely sure that's the case because, I mean, if you didn't like the shooting mechanics, if you didn't think that the FPS mechanics or the RPG mechanics were there isn't really a whole lot that changed in that aspect. However, if you really like the shooting mechanics and the gunplay and the RPG aspects and all that, and the one thing that you didn't enjoy that much was the story, this expansion might actually fix that for you. Now, the problem with it is that you're going to need to have, I believe this is the case, I believe that you're going to need to have the previous 2 expansions in order to play the Taken King. And I know that is going to be a big deterrent for people because they're like, why can't I just hop into the Taken King? And yeah, I know. But yeah, I think that is going to be the case. But however, they are selling like the Legendary Edition or whatever it is, which comes bundled with the other 2 expansions. And that is the cheapest way that you can get the whole thing. But none of this content is actually on disc. These are basically like 3 codes that they will give you, and most of the content is actually already on your consoles if you downloaded Destiny 2.0, because it just has all the content included in there, as far as I'm aware. Because at least I did Destiny 2.0. I played the vanilla version of Destiny after 2.0, and once I bought the other 2 expansions, I just got them downloaded instantly. So yeah. I mean, I didn't have to do a big download or anything. It just kind of activated the content, which was already there. Same thing for the Taken King. Once I bought it, it also just activated content that was already there. So, but yeah, Legendary Edition is the one you want to get if you don't have the House of Wolves or Dark Below or any of that stuff, because that will just bring all of that content in, and you can just hop right into the Taken King. Also, so it's, like I said, the content for those expansions, it's not really the best content that Destiny has to offer. However, I think that Bungie is aware of that, because they do give you an item once you buy the Taken King, which is called the is it the Shard of Light? I think it's basically a very small item, and once you use that on one of your characters, that character gets leveled up to level 25, and they gear you up to level 25, and you can instantly jump into the Taken King and skip all the other stuff, or you can do all the other stuff. I mean, leveling in Destiny is not really that hard. I mean, we reached 40 in, like, I don't know, 10 hours or something. We reached 40 super fast, which is currently the cap. And even reaching level 34 from nothing was not that hard. I reached it super fast as well. So I don't think that leveling up in Destiny is super hard. But if you really just want to jump into the Taken King because you have friends who are playing it and whatnot, you can skip all that leveling up and just go straight up to 25. And your first quest in the Taken King is level 25, so you can just keep on leveling up from there. But yeah, like I said, these are my gameplay impressions of Destiny the Taken King right now. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm going to keep on playing it. And if you enjoyed the gunplay and all that, like I said, you're probably going to enjoy this one too, and the story is a whole lot better, and I can't wait to check out the raid. But yeah, if you didn't enjoy it previously, if you didn't enjoy the mechanics and whatnot, then you're probably still not going to enjoy it, because it is essentially the same game. But I do like the new mechanics on strikes and whatnot. I think they're super fun, and yeah, I'm just having a blast with Destiny right now. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As per usual, leave me all your comments and feedback, all the kinds of good stuff in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.